'Tis the scary season to be stressed out. Oh, we have all these holiday temptations and business stressors at the end of the year. And if you do this wrong, you could end up, unfortunately, having a bad end of the year, gaining a ton of weight, and starting off the new year in a bad place. I'm going to fix that today. I'm going to give you 7 foundational habits that will help you get through this and dominate the next year. My name is Craig Valentine. I'm the host of Early to Rise Radio, and welcome back to another show where we focus on building the personal side of your success so that you can have more productivity, lead your people, and have more profits in your business. That's what we're all about here. So the scary season, we have the holiday temptations of Halloween indulgences still sitting around the house. We have Thanksgiving feasts in America for, as we call it up here in Canada, it's American Thanksgiving. And we've already had our Canadian Thanksgiving. And then globally, we have Christmas parties and we have New Year's Eve shenanigans. And if you add in the end of the business year stressors like financials, Black Friday pressure, to have your sale or to buy things, tax worries, surprise expenses. We had one of our clients, and it's a first world problem for sure, but he's made so much money this year that his accountant said he's going to owe an extra $125,000 more than he already thought. So he went from having $700,000 in income to over $1 million. And even that, it far exceeded his best expectations of the year because everything has just worked out so well because of our coaching with him. So anyways, you have that. And, in our house, we had a Halloween scavenger hunt because our kids are too young to go out and we don't like taking them out. We're not really Halloween people. And so we just hid candy around the house, and we might still be finding that candy on Christmas morning because last year we did the same thing on Easter and we were finding candy on Mother's Day because my wife hid it so well, or maybe just hid so much candy. Anyways, there's always going to be temptations. And one of my mentors said to me years ago, hey, good morning. You could just as easily change your life today as you could on New Year's Day. Change is a matter of choice, not calendar. And that's, the inspiration for me to come and make this presentation for you today because I see this all the time. I see this in clients. I have a client who runs a $4.5 million home healthcare service, and he watches basketball games, which keeps him up late at night. And then he says, man, it was a really stressful week. And I said, well, how many times did you get to bed on time? He said, well, I didn't. And then I have other friends who put their emotions and their happiness in the hands of baseball players. And, one of my friend's teams lost the World Series and he was upset for like 3 days. You can't let that happen. That is a middle-class mindset if you put your happiness in the hands of others. So what people are doing at this time of the year and all year long, especially because there's always sports, is that they're allowing these 7 temptations to make life worse. And the 7 temptations are to skip sleep, right? To stay up late, to over-caffeinate. Well, I stayed up late last night. And listen, I got 3 kids and one of them woke us up in the middle of the night last night because she was feeling sick. And I wake up in the morning and go, oh, well, I can have another coffee, since everybody loves coffee. And I was going to justify over caffeinating because of being interrupted in my sleep, just like a lot of people do that with staying up late and hitting snooze in the morning. But if you over caffeinate, you're on edge, you're easy to anger, you say stuff that you shouldn't say because you're so hopped up on caffeine. And the next thing you know, you get in trouble. Another temptation that you might have is to suffer in silence. And this is the entrepreneur's curse, right? That you have so much going on and you don't want to take it home to your wife or your husband. You don't want to take it home to your kids. And so you suffer in silence and they look at you at the dinner table and wonder why you're in misery. Hey, we're having your favorite meal. The kids are laughing. They're actually behaving at the dinner table. Why are you so grumpy over there? And it's because you're suffering in silence. And that is going to make your life worse, along with skipping workouts, overindulging. Hey, I'm all for a Thanksgiving feast, but the Thanksgiving feast ends with 1 meal. It doesn't continue into 4 days of binge eating, even though there's football on and Black Friday sales and all that sort of stuff and other bad behaviors, but you need to draw the line somewhere. And so if you let those temptations slip into your life and you justify it because it's the holiday season, you're going to get short-term gain. You're going to feel good in the moment, but you're going to get long-term pain starting with tomorrow morning when you feel like crap. And when you say, oh, well, now I got to go do a 2-hour workout to burn off the calories. Listen, this is the most ridiculous thing is when people think, oh, I'm going to go to the gym and burn off the calories from a meal. So at a Thanksgiving meal, you're probably eating about 3,500 to 5,000 calories. You've got some appetizers because you starved yourself over the course of the day. And then now all of a sudden, oh man, it's like 2:00, dinner's not till 4. So I'm just going to have some of these things. And you don't realize that appetizers usually have more calories than most entrees. And so now you're 2,000 calories deep into appetizers and maybe a couple drinks. And now because you had a couple drinks, you have no inhibitions and you're just eating everything. And so you eat a giant plate of food and then you go back and you're like, I'm going to find some more room in my belly for these mashed potatoes and gravy. Because you can always find nooks and crannies in your stomach for gravy. And then, well, of course I got to have pumpkin pie, but of course I also also have to have 2 pumpkin pies. And you get like 7,000, 8,000, 9,000 calories deep from one meal. If you went to the gym the next day, at best, you could burn off about 600 to 800 calories per hour. You'd have to be in the gym for 8 hours and you would just end up with overuse injuries. And it's a really bad cycle. It's actually psychologically damaging to have that type of approach. So you have the short-term gain, but long-term pain. And you're added to Santa's naughty list when you do that type of stuff in those 7 temptations. So listen, we're all human. We all make these mistakes from time to time. Nobody is a robot. And I'm sure even David Goggins has, had an extra snack here and there. So give yourself grace. But don't get into the vicious cycle where you justify one more bad habit because of a previous bad habit. Just because you missed a workout or ate poorly doesn't mean you should skip the next workout, because then you're 30 pounds heavier on New Year's Eve. And then that's when you're in a real bad state. So what are we going to do to counteract these 7 temptations? Well, we're going to double down on accountability. This is why you need a coach in your life. Someone who's not just going to sit there on a coaching call with you and inspire and motivate you, and not just build a plan with you and show you the exact steps to execute on that plan, whether it's a fitness coach or whether it's a business coach. You are going to have accountability from that coach. Because everybody can build a plan. That's easy. The hard part is the execution. And you need the coach to hold you accountable to following through. And that's the game changer. So to finish the year strong and to start next year stronger, you need that coach to double down on accountability. And what we've been doing for a lot of our clients in our business is we build that blueprint with them. And then from there, what we do is we have weekly accountability at a minimum. But most of our highest level coaching clients say, hey, I need to check in with you daily. And we build out what we call the power of 3. The power of 3 are 3 simple questions that are the bedrock and foundation of you being successful. So did I get to bed on time? Did I hit snooze in the morning? And did I work on my number 1 priority first thing in the morning? And if the answer is that no, I didn't get to bed on time, well, if not, why not? If not, why not? And we find out and we're able to break down certain things. So for example, I have a coaching client and he's sticking to 6 a.m. wake ups. And then literally today, he said, I woke up at 7 a.m. because I didn't have to go. He runs a clinic. And he said, I didn't have to go to the clinic today. And I said, well, you can't wake up an hour later and then expect to wake up on time every other day. So he was like, oh, okay, got it, understood. I won't make that mistake again. If he didn't have the daily accountability, he would continue to do that bad habit and then wonder why he could never get up on time, because he's always screwing around with his circadian rhythm. So I'll tell you what, getting daily accountability is a game changer for you. And also selfishly, it makes me better because it inspires me. When I see, I have a client who sends 5 questions every night. He's really taking advantage of me. 5 questions. No, but he sends 5 questions every night as his daily accountability. And, one of them is, did he control his temper around his kids, because he's got teenagers, preteens actually, and they're on their screens and they don't want to go to practice. And they're at practice, all of a sudden they're a little bit lazier than they used to be and they're slacking. And, as a parent who expects the best out of their kids and who's a business owner whose discipline and willpower has been depleted all day by dealing with inventory issues and all types of stress and struggles, it's easy to raise your voice or to lose your temper. And he's working hard not to do it, and he's made an improvement by building systems into place, setting intention into the conversations. And when I get his daily check-in and he nails everything, all 5 of his questions he got 100% correct on, from following his nutrition to avoiding the news to not raising his voice, I'm inspired to be a better parent, to stick to my nutrition, to do my workouts. And so you are the fuel and source of our strength as coaches. And it's this virtuous cycle that if you get daily accountability and you follow through, and you might mess up a little bit at the start, but we give you the systems to change your life. And then all of a sudden you're like nailing it every single day. Now it's a rising tide that lifts all boats and everybody's better, because now we're like, okay, well, we're going to raise our standards and we improve as people. And then you see us improving and you say, hey, I need to take my daily accountability to more challenging tasks. And then you raise yourself. And the next thing you know, 1% better a day or 10% better a day, the next thing you know, you are an incredibly evolved version of you. Your business is growing. Your personal habits are improving. Your workload is coming down. You're delegating. You're a better leader. You have a clear mind for thinking and higher energy levels, and you're showing up as a better person. And the next thing you know, everything in life scales. And that's how it works. It doesn't work with you reading a book and then going, oh, this is good information, I'm going to go and apply it, and then you not following through on it. No, it's that coaching blueprint. It's that coaching execution and accountability that helps you follow through. So it makes everyone better when you're doing the hard inner work. And when you do that, you're going to leave your old self behind. And in most cases, that's a darn good thing to do. It's not easy to leave your old self behind, but it's required to step into your greatness. And so here's a photo of me from 2011 or 13. I think it's 2011. One of my first fitness summits. I used to do these fitness summits with my turbulence training program. See, I really had long hair. I still had my glasses. It was before my laser eye surgery. And I'm there with Daniel Woodrum. I mean, he must have been 25 years old there. He's the head coach in our program now. Been married for over 10 years. I got 3 kids, been married for 4 years. We changed a lot, and it was hard. It was hard to step out of my introverted tendencies, to hide behind email marketing instead of doing videos like this. It was hard, but it was worth it. And even stepping on stage at those events was tough because, I'm just not much of a talker. And those events, when you're presenting for 8 hours a day, that people say do hard things, right? And they talk about doing a cold shower and a cold plunge. And listen, those are tough. I can do it. I'm actually, it's harder for me to do a sauna than a cold plunge, because I'm Canadian, I think. And those things are good, and they do make you a little bit better in life. But I tell you what, if you want to become a better speaker, doing a cold plunge ain't going to make you a better speaker. You got to stand up on stage and speak. You got to watch the game tape. You got to go, whoa, I was really bad here. I had no energy. I had no intro. I had no opener. I had no, hook. And then you have to go and get coaching, and the coach gives you the blueprint, and then you have to take your presentation, follow through on it, and take it back to the coach and get more feedback and advice on it. And that's a virtuous cycle of you changing. It's not by doing cold showers. Cold showers, they only make you better cold showers. But if you want to get better at a specific task, you have to do the task, get feedback, get evaluated, get feedback, get a blueprint, get accountability to following through, repeat the behavior, and repeat that loop over and over and over again. And when you do that 1,000 times, then you're a better speaker. You could do 1,000,000 cold plunges, wouldn't make you a better speaker as doing that cycle a couple of times. So that's important for you to know. Over the years, this is a picture, if you're watching on YouTube, this is a picture of me and my wife from date night just the other night. We have 3 kids under the age of 3. It's hard to get out for date nights. We've settled on once a month, and we went to this beautiful restaurant, and oh my goodness, look how beautiful my wife is there in that little dress she got on, her boots and her dark hair, and it's really cool. I don't just love my wife, I really like her. I really enjoy it. She makes me laugh. She's very opposite of me in certain things, like, I'd just be happy to stay at home. She wants to go out and do things. And I didn't deserve her 10 years ago. So I had to work on myself. But that's the only thing, by leaving my old self behind and stepping into that virtuous cycle of coaching, planning, blueprint, execution, accountability, and going through that cycle over and over again, that I was able to change. So let's go to the 7 foundational habits that are going to help us deal with all the temptations at this time of the year. And the first one is more sleep. You can't kick this can down the road. And this is something that I'm working on as well. And so in the past year, I've made a huge change because I no longer drank. So that wasn't impacting my sleep. Drinking is a horrible thing for your sleep. Even one drink, even if it helps you sleep, if you use an Oura ring, if you use a Whoop band, you will see how poorly you sleep. And that's why non-alcoholic drinks are going through the roof. When we went to that restaurant the other night, there was a full page of over 20 non-alcoholic options, 3 different beers, 7 different cocktails. There was even wine, like a bubbly wine, like a champagne or a rosé that was non-alcoholic. And so in this day and age, you can go to 7-Eleven and get Corona Zero. You don't have to drink anymore. But I don't drink. I don't consume caffeine late in the day, but I still wasn't sleeping that great. And it was because I was eating too late. So in the last year, I have set it up where I stopped eating at 4:30. I know that sounds so crazy, right? Not 4:30 in the morning, but 4:30 in the afternoon. But we have the 3 young kids, right? And so I eat before the kids eat, and my wife and I actually eat together most days at 4 o'clock. We have a little date day at the dinner table. Our nannies are still there with the kids. And so we have 20 minutes where we can talk about the day. And sometimes we play a little get to know you games with these cards that we bought on Amazon. And then at 4:30, I'm done. My wife might have a little snack later on, but I'm done eating. And then now I have 3 hours of no eating before bed. And that's from my 10-3-2-1-0 formula that I talk about in the Perfect Day book. And shutting down the electronics at 6 o'clock. So I don't do anything on my phone or laptop after 6 o'clock. And that's another key that has been helpful. And so my quality of sleep is decent. Sometimes the only thing is I just drink too many liquids later in the day, and it gets me up in the middle of the night once. So I'm cutting back on that. And the quality of sleep is good, provided that one of the babies isn't screaming in the middle of the night. And again, one of ours was sick last night, so she woke us up at 1:15. But if you can get better sleep, and I've given you all the tips and tricks here, it will be a game changer. And I know you're going to be out late for some parties, and there's a lot of stuff going on at this time of the year. But on those nights when you have the choice between getting to bed on time or watching Netflix, you must take the path of most resistance and go to bed, and not the path of least resistance and watch the Netflix. Because otherwise you will just have this sleep debt going into those holiday parties, and then you'll be completely exhausted, and then you'll get sick, and then you'll start behind the first 3 weeks of 2026, and you'll wonder what the heck happened. And it'll be July and you'll still be behind. So sleep is key. Better nutrition is key. Again, there will be parties, there will be grandma's desserts, there will be your brother or sister's famous XYZ ABC, there'll be the holiday team party, there'll be Christmas Eve and Christmas Day and the day after, and then New Year's Eve. And yes, those events are what life is about. I get it. But when you're at home and the choice is eat healthy or DoorDash something high in salt, and I noticed this just recently. We eat at home a lot. My wife cooks amazing meals. We use this fresh prep service. It's pretty good. And then we've gone out for a couple meals, and I cannot believe how much salt is in restaurant meals. And I feel like it's way more than it used to be. And the portions are smaller and the prices are insane. Like at that Elisa Steakhouse that we went to in Vancouver, really great steak, but the prices are insane compared to 2019, right? You're looking at almost double the price of a steak. I swear there was nothing even close to $100 on a steak menu in 2019. I used to go to steakhouses all the time. I'm not innocent little bunny here going to a steakhouse for the first time in their life. And now most steaks are almost $100 at these restaurants. It's crazy, crazy. Like Mastro's and Morton's and all that stuff. So it's wild times, but the salt levels are also. So make sure you get the good nutrition in. Third, smarter workouts. You might not have the time to work out all the time, as much as you did in the spring or January, but you can still work out. You can do body weight at home. I've got videos on YouTube that have been watched millions of times each, literally millions of times. And you can go watch those videos for free and still get a workout at home. You need to work out smart and not overdo it, because you'll probably be dehydrated. You'll probably be rushing through your warm-ups, and you need to make sure that you don't injure yourself. One of my clients, unfortunately, he was on holiday in Greece and he tore a tendon because he rushed through a workout because somebody had one of the piece of equipment he wanted, and so he used something else and it was too heavy, and the next thing you know, he's torn elbow tendon, and he might have to get like this crazy painful surgery, and all because we rushed through something. So just be careful. The fourth thing you need is more good people in your life. Everything in life is easier when you know more good people, and this goes for everything from sales in your business to referral partners to finding the love of your life. That's how I met my wife Michelle, is I asked good people for introductions. When I was in the best shape of my life, it was because I had a great training partner. Everything is easier in life when you know more good people. Even buying Christmas gifts. We have lots of coaching clients who have kids just a little bit older than mine. So I ask them, what'd you buy your 3-year-old? When your 5-year-old, when they were 3, what'd you buy him? And I get great ideas, right? But if I didn't know anybody with whoever had a 3-year-old, I'd just be like, buying BB guns and stuff for them and realizing that's probably a bad idea. All right. The fifth habit we want in place are white space walks. White space walks, no inputs, nothing in your ears, no AirPods, no podcasts, no audiobooks, no Spotify. Go for a walk in nature and solve your problems. All right. That is where the magic happens. And I know what you think. I'm too busy for this. It's too cold outside. You need to do this. You need to do this. You want to do some hard things, go outside and take a walk in the rain and cold and snow. You're tough, right? You're doing these hard things. You're getting better every day. Cold plunge, cold schmunge. Go outside in cold rain for an hour and walk. That's tough. That's tough, but you'll solve your problems for sure by doing these white space walks. But seriously, get out in nature and walk with nothing in terms of inputs into your head, and only connect the dots and solve your problems. That's a game changer. You want less inputs in general. You want less news. You want less Netflix. You want less sports. You want less gossip, less politics. All this stuff. I see people posting about things politics-wise, voting and sports, and I'm like, I have no idea what's going on. When we lived in Mexico, I paid attention to the hurricane season. This year, I totally forgot that there was even a hurricane season because we're back in Vancouver. And years ago, I would spend like 30 minutes a day reading news about hurricanes that, I'm in Vancouver. There's no hurricane coming here. Why would no offense. I mean, I wish everybody hurricane-free life, but it's not affecting me. I got to get back to work on what really matters and not, read stats on hurricanes. So less inputs so you have more outputs, right? I need to make more YouTube videos for you and give you guidance and not find out about Hurricane Jim Bob and how it, destroyed 2 Buc-ee's in Georgia. No offense to people who love Buc-ee's in Georgia. All right. And then finally, the 7th habit is journaling and confiding. So when I had my anxiety attacks, and if you don't know, I had anxiety attacks 20 years ago, it's nearly 20-year anniversary. January 1st, 2026 will be my 20-year anniversary of my first anxiety attack, the panic attack that sent me to the emergency room, from stupid, hypocritical living. And at the time I wasn't journaling. I was keeping everything inside. I was suffering in silence really bad as a young man who, didn't want to be vulnerable. And so I wasn't confiding in people. And when I finally imploded with the anxiety attacks, I realized something had to change. And so I changed that. And now that's, my writing is my journaling, and it gets all my thoughts out of my head, and I don't have a junked up attic, which is what most people walk around with, right? They suffer in silence. There's all this junk in their brain, which is like, a hoarder's attic, or like, 1,000 pieces of a jigsaw puzzle in a box. You don't solve a jigsaw puzzle. You don't solve your problems by keeping things in the box. You got to get them out. You got to spread them out. Journal, confide, get all this stuff on the table, and now we can solve the problems. So that is something that you might resist, but that's a game changer. So when you put those in place, getting that stuff out of your head, sharing from the heart, man, you're going to be so much better. And you can see those 7 foundational habits. You know who those would be great for? Every single pro athlete. And you are a pro athlete. So I look at it this way, like pick your sport, right? Whether you like baseball, hockey, boxing, UFC, whatever there is, right? And you pay a couple $100 and you take your kids there, you take your nephew, you meet up with your brother or whatever, and you go to one of these sports, maybe even go to like, an HBO comedy special or something, they're filming it. You go there and you expect that person on the court, on the ice, on the stage to perform their best ever, right? Like if you go to Hamilton on Broadway, you expect that group of people to give their best. I don't care if you broke up with your girlfriend 2 hours before. I paid $300 for these tickets. That's how you feel, right? And that's what you expect, right? They're professional athletes. I don't care if LeBron ate a can of beans and has, is gassy and tooting and has diarrhea. He's going to score 40 points or I want my money back, right? That's how we all feel when we go to these events. And now you got to flip it on you. You're the leader of the business. You're the leader of your family. You're the leader of your organization. And so you're a pro athlete. And you would expect LeBron to go out and play that amazing game of his life no matter what he ate the night before, because you would expect him to make the right nutrition choices and do the sleep and do the journaling and do all that stuff so that he does it because he's a pro and you're a pro. So you got to work on yourself as hard as you work on your business. And that's what the 7 foundational habits will do. So you're going to step into your greatness today. Step into your greatness today. No more waiting, hesitating, or procrastinating. No more waiting until January 1st. No, change is a matter of choice, not calendar. And that's what you have to believe. And that's how you have to act. And that's how you have to execute on your blueprint that you built with your coaches with accountability. That's going to change your life. Worked for me. I was once a broke, struggling, anxious, socially anxious, binge drinking farm boy. And now I'm no longer those things. I'm a happily married man with 3 amazing kids, running my business and helping people around the world like you. So if I can do it, you can do it using those 7 foundational habits. All right, everybody. Thank you for another episode of Early to Rise Radio. I love talking to you. I love bringing these episodes to you. Please drop a comment on YouTube or send us an email at craig@craigballantyne.com or hit me up on Instagram at realcraigballantyne and let me know what you want to see in our next episode of Early to Rise Radio. And if you're interested in coaching, drop the word coaching down here or hit me up on Instagram so that we can give you the accountability and the blueprint so that you execute, follow through, and change your life in the new year. Talk soon.